Hello. Today we discuss the nature and the basis of international law. So in this topic, we discuss the whether the international law is a law or not. As you know that law is nothing but it is a enforcement, an order made by a sovereign authority. If you fail to observe the order or rule, then you are liable for punishment. That is a commonly understood. But whether international law comes under the purview of the law or not, the question before us. We will discuss in detail. And as per the Aston, the famous jurisprudential English jurist John Aston, he stated that a law is to be a command of the sovereign. A law to be called as a law, it should have the command of the sovereign. It is emanate from sovereign authority. If it is emanating from any authority, it cannot be called as a law. There should be sovereign, and sovereign has the power to make the laws. If we are not fulfilling the obligations made by the sovereign, we are liable for prosecution and we are liable for punishment. So there is a law-making process. Law is made by the sovereign king or the sovereign authority. Then there is a enforcement process, and there is another authority called the implementing, or to say the punishment process. So there should be there. Then if the three elements are there, then only it can be called as a law. The question before us, whether international law is a law or not. If we strictly observe the John Aston definition to the international law, then we could find all our lacunas, our shortcomings are there in the public international law. You know, public international law is a law which is a sort of agreements, a consensus has been arrived between the states. If one state does not agree, then the law made by the other state have no effect upon that not agreeable state. And the public international law is a law which is not made by a authority, a sovereign authority. There is no sovereign authority is there in the world. A single sovereign authority. Maybe many sovereign authorities are there in form of governments, but there is no single sovereign authority is available to make the law. Then implementation. Public international law is, if we not follow the public international law, then who has going to implement it? There is no authority to implement the public international law. Number third is, if we fail to implement, if we fail to follow, if we fail to adhere the principles of international law, there is no punishing authority, the judiciary. So these are the lacunas which are there in the public international law. So that is why the famous jurist Holland, he stated that, so public international law is a law, nothing but it is a vanishing point of jurisprudence. That means it's the ending point of jurisprudence. It's vanishing. It's going to die. It is going to extinct. Why? Because the public international law is not emanated from the authority, sovereign authority. And for public international law, there is no enforcement machinery is available. And for public international law, there is no punishment mechanism is available, like the courts are not there. If you fail to fail. So these are the things with taking into view, Holland rejected that public international law is not at all a law. So that is the reason he termed it as it is a vanishing point of jurisprudence. So this is a stand up to 1945. But after 1945, as you know that there is a momentous history was made in the world, that is a evolution of the United Nations Organization. On the 24th of October 1945, we have seen the coming out of the United Nations Organization. So, United Nations Organization after its evolution basically made for the purpose of political, social, economic development of the world. So, number of agencies have been created in the that organization for economic development. Economic commissions were constituted. For social development, to remove the social disparities in the world, we have constituted social commissions. For health of the people, we have constituted WHO. International Sanitary Organization has been changed to WHO. UNICEF, for children's development, UNICEF is there. For labor rights, we have the International Labour Organization is there. So like that, it has been expanded tremendously. And as you know, if you observe the Charter of the United Nations, there are 6 principles organs are there. Basically, one is a General Assembly, and the second most important organization is that is Security Council. So General Assembly, as you know that it sits in the second week of September to December every year. All the nations, they come together, all the heads of states, heads of governments, they come together, they discuss and they debate and they agree certain points. That becomes the rule. And Security Council, it is a responsibility to maintain the peace in the world. It's primarily made for that purpose only. If there is a outbreak of peace or any other eventuality is there, the immediately Security Council sits and 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members, the totally 15 members, they will sit, they will discuss and they will chalk out the program of action. So the myth that public international law is not a law is no more valid, because all United Nations became acquired a kind of a sovereign power, because when you joining into the United Nations Organization, the states are agreeing that they will follow two spirit, the covenants in two spirits. Whatever things which are there in the UN Charter, they will going to implement it. And UN we have entrusted, state parties have entrusted the power to the United Nations to make the laws. So United Nations became a legislative body. Because that is the reason number of resolutions, number of things have been coming out from the United Nations, and the member states are adapting into their domestic jurisdiction by making the separate laws in their territories. So second aspect that Holland criticized, that there is no enforcement machinery. Here, when a matter which is passed in the United Nations General Assembly or Security Council or any other agencies that have been inserted into the domestic jurisdiction, then we have to, the state parties have implementing it in their domestic by passing the domestic laws. So the question of second aspect also gone. Then third is, if we don't follow the international law, then where we have to go? There is no sanctity, that there is no forum that will check or give the punishment. So that also be not there, because the United Nations Charter has created a separate charter called ICJ, International Court of Justice, that also be called as a World Court. There are two kinds of jurisdictions are being given to the ICJ. One is a obligatory jurisdiction. Every party is bound by that jurisdiction of the ICJ. The second is a non-obligatory or voluntary jurisdiction. All the treaties, international treaties, comes under the obligatory jurisdiction. So if your member states, they come and they sign any multilateral treaty, any United Nations treaty, a United Nations sponsored treaty, and they have to follow, they are to follow the treaty in their domestic jurisdiction. If they fail to follow, then one state can go to the World Court and can demand, can seek the punishment of such erring states. And also we have also created the Statute of Rome, that is the famous international criminal courts. Any state violating the principles of the humanity principles, are causing danger to the lives of the human beings, practicing genocides, killing of the people indiscriminately, then you can go to the ICJ, International Court of Justice. Religious discrimination, genocide, political genocide, racial genocide, then you can prosecute by filing the cases against the heads of governments. So earlier stand that international law is a vanishing point of jurisprudence stand taken by the Holland is, though it is correct up to 1945, but after advent, after coming into force of the United Nations organization and its subsidiary organs and allied organizations, that force has, that kind of concept has gone. Then we have UN Charter also provides, if the state parties they fail to follow the UN resolutions, then they are liable for military action under the Charter, under 39, 40, 41, collective action, economic sanctions, military sanctions can be imposed upon such states. So the concept, because of the modern development of international law, has resulted into the international law becoming a powerful law as that of the domestic laws of the nation. Why? Because we have all things have been slowly coming out. And one more aspect is that now it is a global village, global world communities, nations became living under the global village. It is a globally interdependent states. So we have to follow, every state has to follow the laws, respect the laws, international laws. If you don't respect, then you don't have getting the fruits. You know, when WTO was created, World Trade Organization was created after the GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff negotiations. Majority of countries at the time of 1994, 95, when this treaty came into force, opposed the WTO, including China. It has severely opposed to the joining into the WTO. But the same China has joined the WTO in December 2001. So that reflecting that nations cannot be segregated. The nations, they have to follow, collectively they have to follow the international law. So the argument put forth by the Holland is not relevant, what I think so. So this is vanishing point of jurisprudence has gone. Now there is a powerful point of jurisprudence is in the form of the public international law. So thank you.